Sell.
To sell.
Yeah! Hey everyone, welcome back to Self to Sell. My name is Heem, that's Nick, and today we have Blake with us. How you doing, Blake?
Good, how are you guys?
Hanging in there, man. Having fun. Yeah. You know, living. We woke up this morning. So, Blake, you're a first year RGME student. Just give us some background. Where are you from? Where did you go to undergrad? What did you study? You know, how old are you? All that kind of jazz.
So I'm Blake Becker, 24 years old, originally from South Bend, Indiana, right by the Golden Domers, Notre Dame.
Okay.
Did my undergrad out near Chicago at a small school called Lake Forest College. Majored in biology. Took the MCAT, thought about going to medical school, applied to one, and also applied to some master's programs. Case Western, I know, had a good reputation just as a school and an academic institution, and decided that for the near future, at least, that I thought this would be the best decision for me. So
That's so cool. Okay, going from a small undergrad coming to Case, was it that different for you? Because Chicago's nearby. Here, Cleveland as a big city is not like, the biggest of cities.
It was a little adjustment, Chicago definitely more city-like. The schools were pretty comparable in size and I think academic rigor. Mm-hmm. So it hasn't been too much of an adjustment, and all in all, Case is going well so far. So
that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you said you knew about Case's prestige before you came, and that's something that a couple people we've had on the podcast before, including myself.
Yeah.
For as big of a school and how much Case has done, I find it interesting that even in from the Cincinnati area, I was someone that had never heard of it, and I think that's how did you first come across Case, and how did you come across this program?
I first came across Case while searching medical schools. Obviously, Cleveland Clinic's right nearby. You've been here now, so you know about UH and all the other just great medical tech institutions around here. So I originally found it through that just because it has a reputation in the medical field and being next to Cleveland Clinic. And then as I was kind of debating on whether or not to go to med school, I was looking at some master's programs, and this one really just caught my eye because regenerative medicine is a pretty new kind of concept, not too new, but new enough where I felt like it was something I could jump into and kind of do something for myself.
So you said you're 24, and you were looking at med schools, you were looking at master's programs. So what was almost kind of so you graduated when you were 22, is that right? 21, 22 years old?
22.
So in between, graduating, deciding not to go to medical school, and now starting at Case, last October, last August, what kind of made you feel like you wanted to come back? Because I feel like there's a big misconception in society today, especially around education, is once you're out, it's really hard to get back into it. So kind of how did you get back into the education system and get back into Case?
Yeah, so I took a gap year. That's the year I took my MCAT. And after that, while I was kind of applying and looking around for schools, I was working. And I worked at a primary care clinic, and definitely coming from work back to school was a little tough at first. Thankfully, just dove headfirst back into school. Really had to commit myself to being able to sit down and concentrate and study. And I think that was probably the hardest part is just, you're not used to having to read or write a bunch of papers or things like that. But, it's riding a bike, you don't lose it.
What other master's programs did you apply to? So was this the only biotech focused one? Did you apply to other masters, just MBAs, or other masters of sciences also?
So the other ones I applied to were also usually masters of sciences. I applied to a master's of public health out in Chicago. I applied for a master's in biology at IU, which I was really close to going there. And then I applied for also another biology type master's at Oklahoma State. But just the program and being like close enough to home kind of is what drew me here. So
Nice.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I love the variety that you were applying to. I think that you were really setting yourself up for a lot of chances to potentially find what you wanted to do. So what kind of made you pick case other than kind of being at home? And I asked that with the intention of, what do you see the biotech field, how do you see yourself in the biotech field in the future?
yeah, so it's a great question because I feel like maybe I wouldn't be the only person who feels like this, but I definitely thought this program was super interesting, but kind of came in having like not really an idea of how I could kind of go about using this later or what I really wanted to do. And I think even in the first semester, even though I haven't done like everything I've wanted to do, but I think it's starting to given me a good idea of like what I'd like to, like I think like the FDA things, like regulation, stem cell, like all that is really interesting. And I also would like to look into something like maybe something for tendons and ligaments, just because I also have a sports background, and that's something that I know affects a lot of people. So
Definitely, that's super cool. And did you have any research experience coming into case? Like, any lab experience?
So I had just a little bit, but that's another reason why I really wanted to come out here, because I knew there was a lot of good labs that I could look into getting into, even if it's for a year or 2 years. Just that little experience would be really good. So
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I can't get over the amount of backgrounds and people that are here at Case, and just how we're all trying to figure it out, and at the same time, like, we're doing individual stuff, but we're all doing in it together. And I feel like that's the same way like academia works and research works, and even in the industry is like we're all pushing for the same goal. We're all just on different paths. So, what most interests you about regenerative medicine, and what about? I have a follow-up question after your answer. So, what interests you about regenerative medicine, other than the tendons
other than
and
tendon,
FDA, right? So, go a little more in depth. Like, what about? Like, do you see yourself? I guess my follow-up question can be asked now, because the second part of our program is entrepreneurship. So do you see yourself ever going into industry, maybe, into the biotech industry, but not necessarily on the science or research side, but on the industry or like on the business side? Do you have any interest in that?
yeah, definitely this program has really kind of opened my eyes up to like the finance business kind of parts. And I think that's definitely something I would like to get into, whether it's one thing or the other. But as far as what interests me with the regenerative medicine is just there's so many possibilities. Just from first semester you learn about all the different types of stem cells and things like that, and how each one can be used for a potential new cure for a different disease. And when a lot of these diseases that they're like being worked for to be cured are so severe, it's just something that I think you could research or read about forever and just never get bored of.
So, having a biology background, how has your idea of a stem cell changed before and after coming to Case? Because before I was like, stem cell? Like, where do you get a stem cell? And now me being in my second year, I'm like, how does anyone not know? Because like now I'm like, oh yeah, stem cells are everywhere. They're in this tissue, they're in your bone marrow, they're in your eyes, they're everywhere, So like, how has your idea of a stem cell changed? And has your biology background really helped you, do you feel like?
I think having a lot of the classes I took in undergrad has helped me as far as some basic understanding of like the human body stuff we've done. But my concept of a stem cell has been like completely turned around.
Oh, really?
I don't think we even really studied MSCs at all in undergrad. It's like stem cells and biology is very basic, unless you're trying to do like regenerative medicine, I guess. So the only thing is it's like a cell that can keep reproducing, making new cells, and that's like about all we really touched on in undergrad. So
yeah, I feel the exact same way. Like, I remember in undergrad, coming from a cellular molecular background, I heard of stem cells. I knew what they were. I'd actually heard of induced pluripotent stem cells in a class, and I thought they were like the coolest thing ever, but I didn't fully understand them, especially that they won the Nobel Prize in 2012. Like, I think that's incredible. But I came in here, and luckily, I feel like I was lucky because I got I feel like I have a pretty decent background, maybe a little elementary to like mid background in genetics. And I feel like stem cells and like drug delivery is a lot of genetics. But still, coming in here and sitting and listening to everybody talk about stem cells and what their lab's doing and how they're utilizing them, I am also blown away by just the vast, opportunities that there are with, really, I'd say 7 types of stem cells that you could actually like take in a lab and like push forward. You know what I mean? Not induced pluripotent stem cells. You can take any stuff, but like I'm talking like mesenchymal stem cells. I'm talking bone marrow, like hematopoietic stem cells, induced, and then I'm missing one.
I don't know. Are you talking about tissue types?
Yeah, like
tissue
types. So
adipose, cardiac.
Right, and
all those other kinds.
Yeah, and it's just really cool. So regenerative medicine, I feel like, is very fitting for the vast backgrounds that we have. Right, like I've touched on, everybody at Case has different backgrounds, and I think that we can all come into this science and really kind of get a foothold in our own spot and push forward almost together in like separate it's almost like separate swimming lanes. We're in the same water, but we're doing different stuff.
Sorry.
Bless you. So,
what I found interesting that you guys are gonna go over this semester is the FDA stuff. So you guys will go through how the FDA uses this thing called GMP, Good Manufacturing Practices, where they go outline top to bottom everything that's necessary for like an entire manufacturing process of stem cells. And you'll get to see the one we have here at Case. You'll get to find out, when I asked the lady who runs the whole thing, I was like, what are you guys planning for the future? And apparently Metro Health and Cleveland Clinic are getting their own branches, and they're all going to collaborate with each other. So you'll see like Northeast Ohio have a lot of cellular therapies come up in not only UH, but in Cleveland Clinic and Metro Health and all these different places. And like each place will need their own team, and that team is going to have a background of people who understand these cellular therapies. So I feel like in the next 5-10 years, Cleveland Clinic should have more job opportunities for like our type of work, where it's not only FDA understanding, it's like maybe scientists need help with IP, intellectual property, maybe they need help with like actual handwork too. So I feel like this entire industry is just so new, and like I don't know, I have hopes of one day taking back to like Kenya and India and stuff.
I think what's cool about the position we're in right now too, and you might agree, Blake, is we're still kind of at this infancy of our field. Like a lot of things have been found, but every day it's compounding, it's exponential. We just keep finding more and more new things and new combinations and new drugs. So I think that's really interesting. So
are you familiar with nanoparticles?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think it's super interesting.
So there's a class called nanomedicine here at Case. It's part of our program. I don't know if you'll take it for your extracurricular, but I did, and I found that thing to be super cool because it's basically how gene therapy is delivered. Like, genes, you can't just inject them anywhere.
Yeah.
You got to put them in some sort of delivery vessel. So, like, we learn about lipid nanoparticles, gold nanoparticles, and, like, seeing how people use that kind of stuff, gene therapy and stem cells together, that's, like, the coolest thing for me in regenerative medicine, I'd say.
Yeah, what do you think is the coolest thing in regenerative medicine? What's the coolest thing you learned? And you're not allowed to say
like sci-fi. Like science fiction.
Like what's something that just like absolutely blew your mind when you heard it? You're like, that can't be real. And it's like, no, it's absolutely real. We do it across the street.
I guess I didn't really realize how long ago it was that the first organ was printed. They printed like the ear.
It was a kidney,
or a kidney or something. But that was like more than 10 years ago, wasn't it?
It was something like that.
Yeah, I just thought that was pretty wild. And then I just feel like that is something that's definitely going to be huge in the future once people figure out how to do that more. And I'm interested to see, even if that's not something I pursue, I'm interested to see how that's going to pan out in the future.
No, Blake, you took a law class last semester.
Yeah.
So how do you feel that plays into our masters, and how do you think you might be able to use that in the future?
So I took the patent law, which basically just taught all about IP, applying for patents, everything surrounding that. And I think that's something that's really important, especially in our field.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you want, or if you have an idea and you want to kind of make it your own in any way, you're going to have to try to get some kind of IP surrounding that. So I feel if you can understand kind of the basics of that and what makes it like where you can or you couldn't file for IP, then that's something that could help. Because if you say, I don't know if you guys know this, but it's you have up to a year after, say, like you present a poster to kind of file for a patent for that then.
Don't you have to first file a provisional?
Yeah.
You can, yeah. You're supposed to.
Yeah.
But there's the, maybe I'm getting it wrong, but they have something where if something is leaked or whatever, you have a certain amount of time to apply for patent before you can then.
Oh, interesting. So you can still talk about something without protecting it, but then you have like some days to do that just in case you messed up.
Or you better be the first one to send in that letter, that application.
Yeah.
Or make people sign like NDAs or just all that type of stuff. But
do you plan on taking any more law classes while you're up here, or do you think that was kind of just a one and done to get some information and then apply that to maybe your potential science?
As far as our curriculum goes, I think that would be my only one. It's funny because I took also one law class in undergrad.
What was that?
It was an immigration law.
Oh my god.
So it was like just kind of a throwaway class, but it was still super interesting. There was one day we like got to go downtown to the courts and see like some immigration law cases going on in Chicago.
Ooh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet.
Was it like Law and Order? Or much more boring?
Much more boring, yeah.
Law's boring. People in movies really play it up.
Criminal law.
Oh.
Criminal law is
what
intense.
Is it? Real or Law and Order. That show is crazy dramatized.
Or celebrity law, you know, like Johnny Depp, Amber Heard stuff.
Oh well, that's kind of fun, but that's also for like the public. But all right, back to science. Back to science. So, I think that it's just.
How do you like the city here?
I was gonna say, how do you like Cleveland?
You were from South Bend, right, Indiana?
Mm-hmm.
South Bend, you probably have some experience with snow, unlike Osvaldo. So, like, what is your... Cleveland is, like, how do you like it as a city? We have a lake area right there, you know?
So, I would honestly rate, out of, like, the three cities I've lived in the most, Chicago 1, Cleveland 2, South Bend 3. So, I do like Cleveland. I feel like there's a good amount of stuff to do, a good amount of...
Don't say food.
You know,
do not say food.
The food's not
I've been
that
struggling
bad.
with the food.
The food's not that bad.
Yeah.
You got the
You're
lake.
picky. So.
At least for Indian. I don't know. Indian food's like meh here. And vegetarian.
Our
Indian food's hard.
who's our teacher on Wednesday nights?
Chakravarti, Lena?
Yeah. She was talking like she's like there's no good Indian food in the United States. There's one in like
the United States.
She's like there's one place in New York that's really close. She's like nothing like back home, or nothing like I can make.
Okay,
wow.
to be fair though, the spices in India come directly from the plants. Like you harvest it and you get such local like fresh stuff. That taste is just different.
I agree with you. I don't think the food's that bad up here.
I think I've only had like authentic Indian food once, and that was in undergrad. One of my teachers was Indian, and for Diwali, he invited our whole class over to his house.
Oh,
that's really
sweet.
cool. Yeah. That's really cool. But I mean, yeah, I think Cleveland's fun though.
Yeah, no.
I'm enjoying it.
Cleveland, solid city.
Have you gone to the museum yet? Cleveland
Which one?
Museum of Arts, literally on our campus.
I was literally trying to go last weekend,
It's
but you have to
top notch.
buy tickets.
No, you don't.
Because I looked online and it said you do, and then
Dude, it's free.
called them and they're like, we're sold out today.
For some
maybe for like an exhibit.
yeah, for an exhibit, but you can walk in every day.
Can you?
Yeah, a bunch.
He was telling me it's rated second in the world behind the Louvre in France, in Paris.
Well, in some sort of rating, I think experience-wise, because they have really cool stuff. They don't have glass, so it's like they trust the audience. You know that their level of trust between the people and the
There's an
institution.
respect.
There's respect, and then they have it goes deep. The museum goes deep. You'll keep going, and then there's like so much history, and they cover every part of the world. And then I don't know. I've found it to be really good. You gotta go.
It's definitely on my list.
Yeah.
You just walk in before 5 p.m. every day. But Wednesdays and Fridays it goes to like 9 or something. 8 or 9.
All right. Well, I think we've covered a good amount of science in this one. I think we've gotten to know Blake pretty well, background and everything.
Yeah.
Blake, wait, I thought you had a biochemistry degree.
I usually just say bio, but I had
Do you have a minor
major in
chemistry?
bio and a double major in chem.
You double majored in
Yeah.
bio and chem?
Yeah.
Okay.
So bio and chem.
Yes.
But chem was just like 2 more classes that
Really?
I had to take for like my bio.
That's it
'Cause
for
it
a
was-
whole major?
Well, like you
Yeah,
have to take
'cause it was, like-
Gen Chem, O-Chem, Biochem, and then you need 2 more classes for a major.
I needed like the second semester of biochem, and then I took P-chem, and that was all I needed for because I
Please tell me
took all
P-chem.
the.
Please tell me P-Chem was the only class they were offering that semester. Did you want to take P-Chem?
I had to take P-chem.
That's horrific.
Uh,
That's horrible.
I've never had PChem experience.
I remember I shadowed a P-Chem class. I just like sat in on one, like when I was in high school.
What
just
does
like
the
to
P
check it out.
stand for?
Physical.
Physical chemistry?
And it was all math, and it was awful. It was horrible. Like I remember there were 5 students in that class, and I sat in and they were talking to me, and they were like, "Oh, like what are you interested?" And I'm like, "I love chemistry, like I love biology." And they're like, "Do you like math?" And I was like, "Not really. I'm not very good at it." And they're like, "Then you'll hate this class. They're like, don't take it." I'm like,
Accurate.
"Noted, done." And I didn't take that class.
It's
And I'm
pretty
very-
accurate.
And I could have gotten my minor in chemistry, and I could have either taken environmental chemistry or P-Chem 2. And I said, I'm good without a chem minor.
Math is fun when you know what's going on.
Math is fun when you know what's going on, but I just don't care to know what's going on in some math. So
Have you guys ever seen like abstract math homework? Where it's
No.
abstract math is the class with like no numbers.
Oh,
So it's like just like straight formulas and
oh
stuff.
god.
oh, that's horrible. Who would ever want to put themselves through that other than abstract mathematicians, if that's even a thing? So, all right, well, Keem, do you have anything else? I think we're about done.
Yeah, that's all for today,
Yeah.
man.
We just want to say thank you for Blake, Mr. Becker. Kidding. We want to say thank you to Blake for coming on today. We want to thank all of our viewers and listeners. We appreciate you guys who made it this far. Remember, subscribe, hit the like button, all that kind of stuff.
Smash that like button.
Smash the like button. So comment below, email us, ask us questions. If you know somebody who wants to be on the podcast, or if you know a PhD or you have a PhD and you happen to come across us and you want to share your work and everything, feel free to contact us. We'd love to have you on. So, all right, well, that's just been another episode of Sales to Sell. I'm Nick and that team. See you guys.
See ya.
Later. One random